I am gamertag Burt Reynolds, and with me tonight is the golden voice of gaming, Negan Killjoy. We together comprise the team from Loot Shooter Weekly. We represent the Angelic and Beastly Creatures Discord.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. And tonight we're going to bring you a build video. It's a build we actually did a giveaway for yesterday on our Discord. It's actually a redo of the last build video that we put out. So we put out, it's kind of ironic, we put out a build called Circuit Moze last Thursday. It just happened to correspond with the day that they dropped a giant patch for this game, which had a lot of unexpected components to it, some of which instantly made the build that we had dropped not as optimal as it could be any longer. So we retooled the build.
It was a sad moment. It was a sad moment for both of us. Saw that drop.
It was, yeah. There were a lot of good things that happened with that patch, but one of the things they nerfed was the Anointment. When under 50% health, gain 150% bonus radiation damage. And Short Circuit Moze was built around that Anointment. And well, they nerfed it to 5100 instead of 5150. And the old build is still totally viable. It's totally viable. I don't want to give the impression it's not viable. But being the kind of person who likes to min-max things, it's no longer the best possible option to do that. Because
Burt Reynolds min-maxing? That's crazy talk right there.
That's silliness, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy. But why? That's why we're here, of course.
So when we looked at it, there's actually better things we could do now. At least equal from the radiation perspective, and it actually enhance push damage and push survivability. So we're going to get into that build tonight. We're going to retake a look at Short Circuit Moze. We're going to show you how it plays. We talk about the gear and the... there was one of those micro stutters. Wow, I just kind of froze up for a second. We're going to talk about the skill tree, the build, and everything else. I am going to caveat all of this, as I have the other two times we've recorded this video. This is a bear hopper build. If you're familiar with the early days of Borderlands 3, a lot of the Moze builds at the time when the actual Iron Bear was really not viable in Mayhem scaling, there became a focus on creating builds around being able to get in and out of the bear to trigger anointments. And that very much is what this build is. So if you don't like jumping in and out of the Iron Bear, then you're not going to like this build.
Look away.
Just plain and simple. And I tried doing it with Iron Cub, with the Cub. The problem is the Cub, there's no way to cancel the Cub once you get the Cub. And the Cub is not active a short enough period of time. I know that sounds ironic, but the Cub is not actually active enough, a short enough time to constantly be reactivating your ASE anointments. So they'll run out, and the Cub will still be active. And then you have to wait for the Cub to die, or you have to try and get the Cub killed, and then wait for its cooldown.
Sounds mean. Just sounds
Right.
mean at that point.
Right.
Try to get the Cub killed.
And then you got to wait for the cooldown. After the Cub dies or runs out of time, then you got to wait for the cooldown. And so it's not effective for triggering ASEs. So we're going back to the way we used to play Moze back in the day with the bear hopper builds. If you don't like that, you're not going to like the build, and you can, look. Yeah, as Negan said, you can look away. So let's start out. We're going to go to Athenas.
You can start talking about the gear and stuff now if you want to.
Yeah, I'll talk about the gear.
I'm in here.
All right. So looking at the gear we're going to be running for this build, we got an unkempt Herald, which got a buff a couple weeks earlier in a hot fix. It is or I guess maybe that was a patch. I don't know. One or the other. Patch or hot fix. It got a big buff. And so it makes it a very good pistol to use on Moze because it's very splashy. And it's extremely effective in the pistol slot. You can see here I have a free radical. Free radical would work. Nemesis would work. There's a whole bunch of good pistols that you could run in the slot, but I chose to run the Uncomparable just because of the recent buff to it. Prompt Critical. Prompt Critical would be another good one.
And what are you looking for when you say it's a good pistol to run for? Splash damage and the anointment, or anything particular that you're looking for?
All of the anointments on all these guns are going to have next to mags radiation, because that's how we're going to get the radiation. You can, if you look at this, right? So this used to be 5150, but now it's 5100, and the bonus to this one is it's got 100% uptime, because if you run on a deathless Moze or some sort of low health Moze, you're always going to be under 50% health. So you're always going to have 100% bonus radiation damage. So you'd say, well, why in min-maxing would you trade that out for next two mags? Well, we're never going to run out of our next two mag. Ever. So we're also going to have 100% uptime on the bonus radiation damage. And that's why this is... You'll see why when we get to the actual build, that this is truly the min-maxing of this.
Gotcha. Okay. So all your guns are going to have next two mags is going to be all your guns right now.
All of them are N2M rad. Yep.
Okay.
So then we've got a Chaosin, which also recently got a buff. It's just again splashy SMG. It's a doll. I like doll. Other options here, in the SMG slot, obviously would be to go with the plasma coil. The Torrent would be an excellent one for bossing. There's a whole, again, Flipper. There's a whole bunch of good SMGs, but the trick here is next to mags rad. I want the shotgun here. I'm doing the double penetrating red line. I'm simply doing this because it's like my favorite shotgun in the game. I love this gun. There's a whole bunch of other, again, good options in the shotgun slot, or if you wanted to run a Sandhawk sniper rifle, you totally run that here too. Finally, I have a stuffed Plague Bearer. This one's got next to mags bonus radiation. The Plague Bearer is a good one. You could run a kick charger. You could run a back burner. Tons of options. All of them, of course, are shock, because this is a very shock-focused build, but you will actually see that we will actually activate all of the elements. So it feels a little bit like a Mara, where you're getting all the elements going at once. When we move on to the shield, we've got an enhanced revolter. This has triple capacity on it, and it has the on action skill start activate any effects that trigger on shield break or fill. And it literally says on depleted becomes shock and rage for 15 seconds. Well, shock and rage is code for 200% additional shock damage. So we're going to get shock damage here and from our guns. And we're getting radiation damage from our guns. So now we have radiation and we have shock.
Holy crap. Okay. Having fun so far with it.
And we have a lot of shock. Ton of shock.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
We're running a green monster comm instead of the bloodletter comm, because now we're not running 1 HP, we're running full health. And so that allows us to run the green monster, because we're not trying to get that 5150. We don't have to run a bloodletter. The green monster has two traits to it that make it interesting. One, once you get ramped up with this, you get bonus corrosive damage. It scales to 100%. So you end up doing 100% corrosive damage. But it has a hidden stat on it that actually also gives you bonus splash damage. Kind of like the Blastmaster, just not quite as strong on the splash damage side. So you're going to get both splash damage above and beyond what's rolled on this, and then you get 100% corrosive damage. This one has 5 into the Iron Bank. That's a part of us being able to keep those next two mags active in perpetuity. We're never going to run out of those next two mags. Then we have a Cloning Maddening Tracker. It's the best grenade for healing Moze, or one of the best grenades for healing Moze. And you'll see here we're picking up bonus cryo damage. So now we have cryo damage. We have corrosive damage. We have shock damage. We have radiation damage. It's all the elements except for incendiary. And we'll talk about that when we talk about the skill tree. But let's just say the skill tree is going to give us a lot of incendiary damage. So we'll trigger all elements on every enemy that we shoot. And finally, we're running a Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge. For those of you who don't know, this stacks all the way up to 115% bonus damage. But the last 16% is multiplicative, not additive. This one has regenerating health and mag size. When we get to bossing, we'll talk about why I have regenerating health on it. I also have one that just has fire rate, so I could have additional fire rate here too. It's 6 of one, half dozen other, but I have a reason why I'm running the regen health one when we talk about bossing.
Now, if you ran the fire rate one, would you run out N2M at all, or would you, because the way you build your skill tree, that still wouldn't be an issue?
We're not running out of that ammo.
No,
We're going to have
okay. All right.
radiation damage forever. So, that's how this is going to go. Now, we're going to run through this next room. I'm going to show you how it plays, and then we get to the other side. I will show you what the skill tree looks like. So let's show you just how effective this build is in killing, and I'll show you a little bit of how we have to play it. Again, this is a bear hopper. I know there is very mixed feelings on bear hopper builds within the community. Some people don't mind it at all, like myself. Some people don't like it at all. I do have auto bear on, so my bear also acts as a sort of stationary pet or a turret. So it is not going to move. Wow, I took one right to the face, right out of the get-go on that one. Huh? Not good. But it doesn't matter. Even if I go into fight for my life, it doesn't really matter. You'll see my Iron Bear is already up, just like that.
And because it's up, that's where you get your ASE stuff from, because it's always coming back like that.
Yep. And man, like I said, stuff just, it dies. There's Tyrone Biggums, or there was Tyrone Biggums a minute ago, but he's dead now.
Oh, dog got you back though. Oh, dog dead.
That's okay. That dog's not going to last long. Getting out of fight for your life is not a problem with this build. So even if you do go down, not particularly difficult to get back up. Kind of nice. And stuff dies very quickly. Let's talk about skill tree. I'm actually going to start us in the blue tree. I'm running what I consider to be the only right skill tree for the blue skill tree. I run it the same on every build I run. It's 5 into Fire in the Skag Den, 3 into Grizzled, 3 into Means of Destruction, 5 into Torque Cross Promotion. This one you have to be careful of, especially with the Unkept Herald, because the splash damage on the gun is insanely large. This one is so strong that on the Devil's Foursome, you'll kill yourself instantly if you just use the gun. You can shoot it in the air, doesn't matter, you'll kill yourself with it. So you do have to be a little careful with Torque Cross Promotion as to what you run, and you have to stay back a little bit when we're using the Unkempt Herald. Hold the Holy Pin, which is going to give our grenades a chance to crit. Auto Bear, as I stated, we're going to use the bear as a turret. Vampire for healing. And Short Fuse, which is buffed by Grizzled up top. This is going to give us a chance to get secondary explosions, which also correspondingly helps us get grenades back and heal and everything else. So it's good. In the red tree, we're going to run Armored Infantry. This is going to give us gun damage and damage reduction. We're going to run Drowning in Brass, and this is going to give us, it's going to slow down our rate of fire a little bit, but it's going to give us additional damage. And then we get this Experimental Munitions, which is going to give us bonus incendiary damage, 15% of damage dealt. Over here at Fire in Skag Den, you can see we're getting 15% bonus incendiary damage. We move over to the green tree, and we're going to have Cloud of Lead, and this is going to give us another 11.25% bonus incendiary damage. Every 4 shots are not going to consume ammo. Then we get another 30% incendiary damage from Stoke the Embers. Redistribution is going to give us ammo regen. Scrappy is going to give us damage when we run around. Russian Offensive is going to give us some life steal. Scorching RPMs is going to reverse the effects of Drowning in Brass and going to keep our fire rate up, as well as it's going to give us critical hit damage, and our Iron Bear is going to hit harder. You can see because of our comm, we end up with 10 into the Iron Bank, so we get 70% additional mag size. Click, click, click is going to give us some gun damage.
Those are huge magazines.
Huge magazines. Huge magazines.
Okay.
Click, click, click is going to give us bonus gun damage the lower our magazines get. Well, our magazines aren't going to get very low, but this always gives us some amount of damage. So it's valuable. And then finally Forge, which is going to give us constant ammo regen. So having those giant magazines with the constant regen is why we never run out of that next 2 mags. Finally, in the purple tree, not much used here. Biofuel, again, gives us some additional health regen. Love that health regen. And finally, big surplus. While an action skill is cooling down, which in a bear hopper build is always, we're going to get more, 15% more bonus incendiary damage based on the gun damage dealt. So we have a grand total of 30% of gun damage being applied as incendiary damage. So that is a lot when you start to think about how much gun damage we're doing at certain times. That's actually where we get the biggest kick of incendiary damage, is the 15% here and the 15% in the other tree of gun damage dealt. When we look at what we're running for weapons on our turret, we are going to run dual rail guns with the shock enhancement on them. So that is the capacitive armature, capacitive armature, which is going to give us shock damage. And man, is that, you'll see these beams of blue just go flying out from behind you when you put up your bear. And
so
it's fun.
Real fast, go back to what you said about the incendiary damage, the difference between some of them picked up incendiary damage and some of them you picked up incendiary based on gun damage.
Yeah, so there's 2 different ways that comes, 2 different flavors it comes, right? So whenever Moze deals splash damage, she deals bonus incendiary damage. 15% bonus incendiary damage. So that's just straight 15% incendiary damage. And it's bonus, meaning it's on top of everything else. It's not, it's a whole element even if you're not applying that element.
Right, okay.
We come down here and we look at experimental munitions, which one of the strongest skills, always has been for incendiary. This is whenever Moze or Iron Bear scores a critical hit, they deal bonus incendiary damage. And it's 15% of damage dealt.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. The higher damage gun you have, the more damage you're getting picked up as bonus right there. Okay.
And then we move over to that last one. While we're on cooldown, she deals bonus incendiary damage, 15% of gun damage. So you see the different ways that those are calculated. And those ones where it's based on damage dealt or gun damage, you think about 30% incendiary damage. That's just like the 100% corrosive damage I'm picking up from my comm, or the 100% radiation damage I'm picking up from my N2M. But as a percentage of damage dealt, you'll see on some of these shots, and I'm doing 6, 8, 10, 12, 50, 80 million damage. You know what I mean? It's like, now we're talking about some scaling, right?
Okay. All right.
Critical, based on a multi-million critical hit, that becomes a lot of bonus incendiary damage. So that's what we're looking at when we look at that. I'm going to switch over here to the Chaosin. I don't have to stand as far back when I use the Chaosin. It's not like the prompt critical that, splashes stuff like everywhere. I have time to hop back in my bear because my 200% bonus shock damage had died out there. But you'll see, if you look at the damage numbers coming off these guys, the radiation damage never comes off. I mean, I'm still dealing radiation damage minutes later if I want to be. It's just crazy. The damage from the shield, 15 seconds moves by pretty quick. So I'm hopping in and out of the bear quite a bit in order to do this effectively. But man, when I come out of that bear, wow, am I dealing insane amounts of damage. Just insane. And a reminder that in the Guardian rank tree, Guardian rank skill tree, there's a skill called Harmageddon, which for each element you deal a bonus 5% damage. So when you apply every element, you get an extra 25% damage. So we're stacking up damage basically everywhere. And again, why I say then this is min-maxing, at 1 HP, the two things I get there, I get desperate measures, and if you have the right comm, the right bloodletter comm, you can get up to 100% bonus weapon damage 100% of the time with that 100% radiation damage. So it's strong, and that's why I said you can still run the build the way I had it before the patch. It's still strong. It's not going to be not strong, but you're not going to have any of the corrosive damage at all. Zero. And quite honestly, the 100% bonus weapon damage is additive at the point where we already have a lot of weapon damage, so it's just additive to that. The corrosive damage is multiplicative. It's a new type of damage, so it's multiplicative in the damage formula. So it's extremely strong to have that. And because I still have 100% uptime on the radiation, it's like not a bad thing. I'm able to add the cryo. If you were running like an Atom Bomb Victory Rush, which I also have in my backpack, you could get an Atom Bomb Victory Rush that has additional cryo damage on it, and that would allow you to even further stack up the cryo damage that you're dealing. So that's also a thought.
Nice. All right. So with this build compared to the original build, it's a lot of radiation damage from the original build, but this one gets you a lot of all the element damage. Corrosive and cryo and stuff like that.
Corrosive, cryo, radiation. And this, I mean, the old build was extremely strong. You may remember, I think we set the record for killing Traunt with that build.
Yes, it was relatively fast.
And so it was very fast. So this one, I think, has, the potential, and not to be a spoiler, but, we've already recorded this video once, and our first take did not, had some audio issues, so we're re-recording it. I can tell you that this build is stronger than the old build, so there's the spoiler. It is. And I mean, I'm nitpicking here, right? Like, when I say stronger, I mean the old one was a solid 10 as a damage Moze build goes. Probably the strongest Moze build I think I'd ever put together in terms of just at least burst damage output and ability to just shred bosses. And this one just, I mean, literally, to quote Spinal Tap, this one just turned it up to 11. I mean, it really genuinely has. So it's not like, again, not like you're going to go wrong with the old build. It was good. It was real good. This one is just slightly better. And you can see here I'm using the red line. And I have it on sticky mode just because I find it very satisfying to paint an enemy with stickies, and then when you push reload they all blow up, and I think that's fun.
But find the fun where you can, although you're putting them down pretty fast, so the stickies seem
I was going to say the stickies aren't even getting a chance to explode.
Mm-mm.
The impact is actually killing them. So, in like the Malawan takedown, the stickies would have to be detonated on them. Now we're going to have a quick conversation before we go down here to do the bossing about some options in bossing. Now I'm gonna boss with it just the way it is, but you can also, there's another shield that's a good option. You'll lose all the shock damage. You're going to lose 200% shock damage, but you can run an Infernal Wish shield here. And what this one is going to do is it's going to add projectiles when the shield is not depleted. And it's going to cause you to self-combust, so you're going to start on fire. So eventually it will kill you. The shield, in theory, will kill you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But extra
Sounds
projectiles...
like a bad idea, but you're going to explain why.
Extra projectiles, say on something like this Plague Bearer that does 120,000 damage, are crazy.
There you go. I see where you're going with it now.
Okay. Crazy valuable when you're fighting a single target boss. That is an extremely strong thing to have. I'm going to do it just the way it is, but I just wanted to call it out. If you got an Infernal Wish, throw on your heaviest rocket launcher, you throw on something like a sniper rifle, and you go down on, attacking somebody like Traunt, and you're going to delete them. You're literally going to delete them. Not that we're not going to delete them right now, because we are.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I think so. Well, you never know. Maybe he'll defeat us. There's always that chance. You just never know.
Because he's the guy that drops the Chaosin, I'm going to use the Chaosin on him.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice of you.
You know, it's I find that kind of thing oddly amusing. Like, I love eating edamame and dipping it in soy sauce because you're eating the raw soybean and dipping it in the thing that the soybean has been made into. I find that stuff fascinating. So in this case, we're gonna kill Trant with the gun that Trant drops, and that's how we're doing it. So here we go. We're gonna drop down. Up goes our bear. Avoid his ice wall. Come out. We're gonna be shock enraged, and we are just now. If he doesn't put up another ice wall, we are just gonna paint him like that.
Deleted.
Yeah. So delete button on bosses. And again, you know, any of the guns I have here or any of the other guns I talked about are only going to delete him as faster than I just did. I tried to stay on this particular build away from using any of the, I guess what you call kind of easy button guns like the free radical and the plasma coil, because those guns are so strong you can't tell if your build is working or if it's just the gun doing all the work. So rather than do that, that's partially why I chose the guns I chose, because, you know, this allows us to see how the build operates. Not that these guns aren't great, but, you know, they're reasonable.
A little build dependent, but they're still pretty good.
they're reasonable guns. They're low S tiers, but they're not those like must haves, other than maybe the Plague Bear. And that's the build, Negan. That is the build. That is Short Circuit Moze version 2, take 2, and
72, take 2, version 2, all that 2s.
Lots of 2s. So that's that, and I'll let you sign us off. I really appreciate all of you checking out the build video, and hopefully you enjoy it. Maybe we'll do a giveaway of it again. Again, our Discord is Angelic and Beastly Creatures. And we do giveaways of all of the Loot Shooter weekly builds, as well as other people's builds. So if you're on Xbox or PC, actually, I think we even support PlayStation, so I guess it doesn't matter your platform. You can look for the Discord link in the comments section on the YouTube video.
Yep. Also, just put it in chat for anybody that's watching in chat as well. So there we go.
Okay. Thanks, Negan.
No problem. Well, thank you, Burt. Good build. Good version 2. I like it. Like the changes you made, the improvements. Min-maxing like a madman like you always do. And to everybody else, see ya.